Today we're going to make a sofa that's really easy to build. All of the wood parts for this sofa are made out of 3/4 inch thick plywood. I'm using Radiata sanded pine plywood that was just about $30 a sheet from Home Depot. I made all of my cuts with a circular saw, and I used a trim board clamped down to the plywood to keep my cuts nice and straight. The supports for the backrest of the sofa consist of triangles cut out of plywood, and I made these by cutting a strip 8 inches wide, and then I used my speed square to cut pieces that were 18 inches long. From there, all I had to do was draw a line corner to corner and cut the triangles. I glued these pieces together to make nice, thick, strong supports, and you can do this 3 at a time, but it's a little bit easier to line them up if you just do 2 at a time, let the glue cure, and then add the third piece. Next, I started working on the platform that the seat cushion sits on. I glued 2 of these pieces of plywood together that were 32 inches wide by 8 feet long. I used spring clamps and a couple bags of concrete to clamp them down together, and then added in a few screws. By now the glue on the triangular supports had cured, so I just used my orbital sander to sand the edges down nice and flush. I want to make sure the base of the sofa didn't flex too much, so I added a 3rd layer of plywood, but this one I didn't do as a solid piece. I just added in an 8-inch wide frame around the edge. For the legs, I'm using 9-inch long, heavy-duty hairpin legs from DIYhairpinlegs.com. I'll put a link to them in the description box below. I flipped the base over and then used my orbital sander to sand the edges of the base nice and flush. Now the edge where the backrest meets the base should be cut at an angle, and so I used the angle on the triangular supports to set the angle on my circular saw so that everything would line up. Plywood can get a little bit splintery when it's cut into too sharp of a point, so I just trimmed back the tips of the triangular supports just a little bit. I sealed all of the wood with Varathane water-based polyurethane in crystal clear matte. I then screwed the triangular supports to the backrest. I started with a few screws through the back just to get everything set, and then drew the rest of the screws through the backrest where those screw heads will be hidden by the seat cushion. I then placed the backrest about 3/4 of an inch from the back edge and then screwed it into place. Now I want this sofa to be pretty sturdy, so I used 3 1/8 inch long finished screws. I ordered foam cut to the right size from the foam factory, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below. I saw a really good deal for a whole leather hide on Amazon, and I was able to make both cushions out of a single hide. Now, this is a really easy, no sewing, DIY way to make cushions. It's a little bit amateurish, but it's also very material efficient because you don't need to cover the backside with expensive leather. Now, instead of sewing the leather together, I'm just going to make little incisions with my knife and then reinforce these holes with grommets. You set the grommets with a hammer and this handy little tool, and it's a really efficient and economical way to make strong reinforced holes that allow you to lace the leather up with cord. At each corner I made 2 triangular folds and then grommeted multiple layers of the leather together. So in this way I'm using the grommets not just to lace up the leather cover, but to actually stitch the corners together. Now while I'm working on the cushions, let me tell you about the sponsor for this video.
Hi, Ben here. Now this video is sponsored by Keeps. Now 2 out of 3 men will experience some sort of male pattern baldness before they hit the age of 35. Now the good news is you don't have to go broke to avoid going bald. Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA approved hair loss products out there. You may have tried them before, but probably never for this price. Keeps has totally revolutionized the way men's hair loss is treated. You used to have to go to the doctor's office for your hair loss and get a prescription, but with Keeps, you can visit a doctor online and then get the medication delivered directly to you. Now, prevention is key. The sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll save. Many men also experience hair regrowth with these treatments. Keeps treatments are up to 90% effective at reducing and stopping further hair loss. and 66% of men will experience hair regrowth with Keeps treatments. Thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video, and head to keeps.com/homemade-modern to learn more and to get 50% off your first order of hair loss treatment, or just click on the link in the description box below. So once again, that's keeps.com/homemade-modern to learn more and get 50% off your first order. All right, back to the build.
Once all the holes are set, I then use paracord and short bungee cords to apply just a little bit of tension and hold the leather cover nice and tight. I then drilled a few holes through the backrest so that when I placed the cushions, I could slide a piece of cord through these holes and strap it to the cords on the back of the cushion to make sure that that back cushion doesn't slide or fall over. This project is really easy to build. It only requires 3 basic power tools, and I really like how it has these nice side tables built in on either side. I made this sofa for the comedian Andrew Schulz as part of the build out for his new podcasting studio in Brooklyn, New York. Myself and Mike from Modern Build spent a few weeks out there, not just building furniture, but actually designing and building the sets themselves. Mike's videos for the projects he did are already up on the Modern Builds channel, and I'll put links to them down below. The sofa's going into the lounge sort of hangout place in the studio, and we wanted to create kind of a modern loft vibe that wasn't too rustic, but where everything felt real casual but fresh. Now this is a very affordable leather sofa to build, but if you want to make it even less expensive, you could substitute the leather for an industrial felt or canvas, and instead of hairpin legs, you could use 2x4s or plywood. So I got more videos from the Schulz Studio build out coming soon. Up next will probably be this giant table that I made all out of plywood. Thanks for watching, check out some of our other videos, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks! Bye!